Hi everyone, welcome back to Dark Fantasy Therapy, and today I'm gonna show you my marine, naval, water, aquatic thematic build that is developed through some items that are in some way correlated to the element of the water. So don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my video, and let's begin. Let's start with the weapon, and of course I chose the Rusted Anchor. That of course is the weapon that is more linked to the theme of the water. Now, this weapon is a great axe, but unlike the other great axes, this weapon doesn't deal standard damage but pierce damage. That in my opinion is a little more versatile. You can find it in the Weeping Peninsula, so quite early in the game you can start already to develop this build in one cave called the Morn Tunnel. Then this weapon has only physical damage and scales with strength and dexterity, but you can infuse it with your favorite Ashes of War. But I would leave it like it's now, because there is an ability that is linked to one of the talisman that I wanted to suggest you later, because with the Barbaric Roar you will do this kind of bestial scream, and then while it's active your attacks will turn into this combination of different blows that are very powerful, and you can boost them with one of the talisman that I just said. Now, this is a very strong weapon. I reevaluated over time because I didn't use it in my first run of Elden Ring, but it's crazy. It can destroy shields quite efficiently, and yeah, it's very heavy, and you know, the requirement of strength is not that high, and I mean, in any case you can wield it with the two hands. So yeah, it's great, and I think that when you need that kind of heavy damage in the early game, this is the perfect weapon anyway. As a shield, again, of course, I chose the Jellyfish shield. I mean, more water thematic than that. That is a great shield, and but it's a great shield, so it's supposed to be heavy, but instead it's very light. It's probably the lightest shield in the game, or I think one of the two, because of course it's a Jellyfish, so it's I mean, you cannot break it. But there is a problem that it doesn't protect you from pierce damage. So if there is an enemy with a spear, a halberd, it can be problematic, but in all the other situations this is a great shield with the 100 of physical protection, and also the one of magic, fire and so on. It's quite high. You can find it again in the Lurna of the Lakes, in one of the different paths. If I remember correctly, the one on the left, like there would be just a chariot abandoned, and you can loot it from there. And yeah, it's good. And then there is this unique ability called the Contagious Fury, where basically you incite the Jellyfish wrath and allow the fury to flow through you, so it will raise your attack power for a certain duration. That is great, because together with the Rusted Anchor, that is a very heavy weapon, you will maximize the damage. That's why I like it so much. And then I mean, it's funny to see, and there is a unique animation when the enemy hit you, because it will release some kind of water, like if it's supposed to be in this build. As armor set, I decided to use the Black Knife set. That is not directly linked to the water, but the mid part, I mean the body part of this armor has a unique attribute that basically it kinda silence your footsteps, your rolls and your jumps. That, I mean, silent like water, maybe it's a little forced, but I mean, I had to choose an armor set amongst all the armor set available, and I think that is the one that fit more. And then I mean, it can remind you a little some kind of I don't know, water warrior, at least this is my opinion. And you can find it in the liturgical town, in the consecrated snowfield, so it will be a little late, I mean very late in the game, so better if you use it in your second run. Now let's start with the sorceries, and the first one that I want to suggest you is the Oracle Bubbles. Why they are linked to water? Because they are bubbles. I mean, this is the association I did, but I checked in some forums and many people had the same idea. This is a sorcery that you can find in the Siofra river. quite early in the game, so you don't have to wait a lot. And then the requirement of intelligence, if you're a spellcaster, is very, very low. Now, this basically it's a magic that you will produce some small magical bubbles that drift towards the foes before they naturally pop. Charging increase the delay before the bubbles pop, and this is linked to another talisman that I will suggest you just a little later. Now, you have to use this sorcery when you will be surrounded by enemies, when they are, try to circle around you and to, charge you. In that case, they can be quite useful because they can hit multiple targets. And yes, probably it's not the strongest sorcery here, but I mean, it just linked to the water, and it's funny. Come on, it's definitely funny. And you can even cast the spell and then take again the weapon and focus on the melee, because the bubbles will take a little to hit the target. And as a second sorcery for this build, I chose, of course, the great Oracular bubble. That is the strongest version, and the requirement of intelligence is higher. In this case, there is even a little of arcane, and you will find it also in the Siofra River, but a little later in your journey underground. Now, this sorcery, of course, again of the claimant, it produces a gigantic magical bubble that drifts towards the foes before it naturally ruptures, and charging increases the delay before the bubble pops. Now, a thing that I would like to say is that it's a little slow, but it kind of follows the target. It doesn't do it that accurately, but I mean, in some way, if the enemy is not particularly fast, and if you cast it into the right direction, it will hit the target, and it's very explosive. You can even use it against bunches of enemies, because it will cause this little explosion that will hit multiple targets. That's why it's great. I love it. And yes, this is the second sorcery for me. A couple of talisman that I would like to suggest you for this build in the way that I presented that to you is first the Godfrey icon, because it raises the attack power of the charge spells. So since the great oracular bubbles and the oracle bubbles are both and you can increase the power of both charging with the charging if you charge the spell, I think that this talisman can be a very good option. And then we have the winged sword Insignia. That is another talisman that you will find it in Luna of the Lakes at the very beginning, if I remember correctly. And this will raise the attack power with the successive attacks. So since there is the ability of the rusted anchor, that is this combo of attacks when you use the barbaric roar, this can be particularly helpful and boost your attack with this build. Now let's do the final test of this aquatic marine naval theme that I like it so much. I was just checking on the forums if there was some kind of water related build in Elden Ring, but they didn't add any weapon with some kind of water damage. So we had to do it, to build it ourselves, and I think it's very funny. You get one anchor as a weapon, a jellyfish as a shield, and in the bubbles as your sorceries. Now you can use, of course, as your if you basic attack the rusted anchor. The shield, you can use the ability every time to boost your attack, and when the enemy get a little stronger, maybe you can even consider it to take the rusted anchor with the two hands. And when you want to hit multiple enemies all around, because the rusted anchor doesn't have a very long range, okay, so it cannot hit many different enemies all together. In that case, you can rely on the bubbles, on the bubble sorceries. That will help you in these circumstances. And yeah, I think it's perfect in this way. The requirement of strength, dexterity, and intelligence are not that big, so you can already do it in the in the mid game, the early mid game, something between that. And yeah, it's very funny, and with the talisman you will even boost your powers, so yeah, you will be indestructible like water. Thank you for following me, and see you very, very soon.